This audiobook is based on our book about a key philosophical principle in medicine, without which a true understanding of human health is impossible. We extend the previously formulated principle of disease optimality to human health and human life, not only at the individual, but also at the societal level. In this chapter, we are talking about genotype, phenotype, and the space of possible trajectories. We do not enter this world as a blank slate, nor as a rigidly fixed program. Every human being is the outcome of a vast dialogue between heredity and circumstance. The genetic foundation sets the limits of our maneuvering. The environment selects from this foundation particular traits, and life itself becomes not a single predetermined line, but an entire field of potential trajectories within which we search for our wellspan. The human genotype is not a fatal sentence, but a space of possibilities in which the ranges of our bodily and psychic variation are encoded. It sets the boundaries within which our height, strength, or metabolic flexibility may fluctuate, as well as our emotional reactivity and cognitive speed. In this sense, the genotype is more a map of potential landscapes than a made script. It outlines which mountains, valleys, and climate zones are possible at all, but does not determine the exact route we will take. The constraints of the genotype manifest as boundary conditions, including vulnerability to certain diseases or limits of regenerative capacity. In the case of severe congenital defects, the genetic component may rigidly fix the system's configuration, leaving almost no room for compensation. Yet in most instances, the genotype determines not destiny, but a space of opportunities, within which life conditions shape the actual trajectory. It is within this space that wellspan unfolds. The phenotype is who we are in our current, concrete realization here and now. If we view the body as the outcome of expressing a genetic program, then the phenotype is the particular state that body has acquired under the pressures of developmental conditions. It is the result of genetic potential meeting the intrauterine environment, nutrition, infections, culture, and personal choice. The phenotype encompasses our present bodily traits, such as tolerance to load, as well as our psychic structures and behavioral habits. In this way, the phenotype appears as a living snapshot of genotype realization, where environmental conditions have been superimposed on the genetic matrix and have reshaped its manifestations. It is never final, constantly evolving under the influence of experience, learning, and technological interventions. Epigenetic mechanisms play a decisive role here by regulating gene expression and allowing the organism to adjust to circumstances without altering the DNA code itself. We are a symphony in which the genotype is the score and the phenotype is a unique performance that depends on the skill of the orchestra and the acoustics of the hall. Genotype and environment do not oppose one another. They interact continuously, so that the same genetic configuration can yield qualitatively different trajectories under different conditions. High emotional sensitivity, for example, becomes empathy in a supportive environment and anxiety disorders in a traumatic one. This interaction shows itself through epigenetic switching on of genes under the influence of nutrition or stress, as well as through critical periods of development during which even minor impacts can redirect the trajectory for a long time. Adaptive tuning of the organism to the world as safe or chaotic is consolidated in neural and hormonal patterns. One and the same set of genes can be realized as a trajectory of high wellspan or as premature exhaustion, depending on the fields in which it unfolds. The gene and environment interaction is key to understanding most chronic diseases and aging patterns. When we combine genotype, phenotype, and environment, a space of possible trajectories opens before us from the relatively ideal to the catastrophic. At one pole lies a smooth life course with minimal disease and prolonged autonomy. At the other, trajectories in which congenital defects are trauma-sharply narrow possibilities and lead to early lethal outcomes. Between these poles lies a multitude of variants, including individuals with long lives but low wellspan, and those for whom illness becomes a turning point that renews the quality of the remaining life. Grasping this spectrum allows us to see that, within the limits set by nature, there is always room for maneuver. A favorable genetic map can be undermined by destructive patterns, while high genetic risk can be mitigated by wise decisions. The task of medicine, and of personal responsibility, is to help a person construct the most optimal trajectory possible within the space of opportunities that has been given to them. We will be grateful for your likes and for sharing information about this audiobook with others.